Happy Mother's Day! Woo-hoo! Oh my goodness, this is, well, hey, we've improved since last year. Last year, I didn't have notes because I have 3 children and they're very young. So this year we have some notes, so woo! That's just me, yay! Happy birthday, babe. That was awesome. Church, thanks for singing happy birthday to my husband. We celebrate birthdays a little differently now that we have 3 children. Nice quiet day, worked in the yard, went out to dinner, just nobody talked to me kind of day. Unlike 13 years ago when I told, we were dating at the time, and I told him, I said, okay, it's your 23rd birthday, babe. Here's some clues. I'm going to pick you up at 2 o'clock. You have to be wearing closed-toed shoes, pants, and a hoodie. Do you trust me? He's like, no. And so I pick him up. He gets in the car, and I blindfold him. 20-minute drive. I'm like, yeah, happy birthday. I'm so excited because I know what's about to happen. The activity's been paid for. It's all good. And I take off the blindfold, and he reads, Monterey Bay Skydiving Academy. Happy birthday. And you guys know my husband, he's got passion, and he has all the words, and they all come out fast, and it's amazing. Yeah. He was speechless, if you can believe that. And we're watching the video, and it's like making sure, hey, don't sue us if you die, And so, but it was awesome, right? Because I believe if he knew every detail of what we were going to do for his birthday, he wouldn't have gone. And he trusted me that I wasn't going to, well, actually, we could have died, but we didn't. And it turned out to be one of the most amazing, adventurous memories that we have to date together. So, which brings me to my next point. We're going to pray. And we're going to talk about faith this morning. Are you excited? Are you ready? Yeah. All right. Will you pray with me? Lord, I thank you for every single mother in this room. And as we have said before, every mother who mothered 10 children that were not her own natural children, our spiritual mothers, our aunties, our grandmothers, God, we honor them today. I thank you for the mothers that have gone before me, who invested in me, so that I may be the mother that I am to my kiddos today, the wife that I am today, and the woman of God that I am. Lord, we honor them, their service unto you, God, their love unto you. There's nothing like a mama's love. And we love you, Jesus. Amen. Amen. We are going to be reading out of Matthew 14 today. I love this passage because we find Peter out on the water. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read the passage. You just sit back, relax, especially moms in the room because you do so much. Don't take notes even though you have notes, but just be encouraged. Have your husband take the notes for you, actually. Make him do something for you today, okay? All right, we're going to read Matthew 14, 22 through 34. And remember, I have young children. We read stories all the time, so if I get a little into it, that's why. All right. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. See, getting into it. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. He probably didn't say it like that. He was probably like, "Come on, come." Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat and the wind died down, then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to all the surrounding country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to let the sick touch the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. I love this story. Jesus, he had just finished feeding the 5,000, and that was a pretty big task. When was the last time you fed 5,000 people? So Sometimes it feels like dinner every night, And he just got done feeding the 5,000, and he tells the disciples, get into the boat and go across the lake. I'll meet you on the other side in a little while. Some translations say he constrained his disciples to get in the boat. He commanded them to get in the boat. It wasn't a nice suggestion, like, hey, maybe you guys should take off while I handle things here, and I'll see you later. No, he commanded his disciples, get in the boat, go to the other side. I'll meet you in a little while. And Jesus goes up to the mountain to pray. Here's what's important about this. The disciples begin rowing across the lake, and this lake, it's about 7 miles wide, and it has storms, like just windstorms that happen. And Jesus, it says in Mark that when he was up on the mountaintop, he could see the disciples straining against the wind, that they were rowing against the wind. And by that point, I'm sure it has been a couple of hours, and they're exhausted. It's been a big day, full of miracles, full of serving, full of amazingness with Jesus, and they're getting tired. And Jesus, seeing them struggle, he says that this is the fourth watch of the night. He goes out to them walking on the lake, to the disciples. I'm sorry, when was the last time you saw somebody walk on water? To you? I've never seen it. And so in the fourth watch of the night, this is about the 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. hour. Okay, so you can imagine, it's been a long time since the disciples have started rowing to this point, and they were about halfway across the lake. And here comes Jesus, and the waves are going, and the wind is going, and they say, oh, it's a ghost. And just take that in for a second. What would you think? I would think it was a ghost, because I've never seen anybody walk on water like that, especially in the middle of a storm. And what does Jesus tell them? Take courage. Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. I remember I would go shopping with my mom, and when I was little, and in the big department stores, and they used to have the rounders, and I would hide in the rounders while my mom shopped around, and I couldn't see her, but when I would hear her say, Tara, oh, time to go. And I would go to my mom, because I knew the sound of her voice, right? So here's Jesus out in this storm, and he calls out, don't be afraid, take courage, it is I. The Lord your God is here. It wasn't some random person who they didn't know, who they didn't trust, who they didn't just see, feed 5,000 people. This was the Lord their God out on the water. Do not be afraid. And he commands that of each of us, to take courage, even in the midst of the storm. Don't be afraid. He'll show up in unexpected ways in your life. Him walking out on the water to his disciples was very, very unexpected. My third pregnancy, Mia, was looking a lot like my first pregnancy. You see, we miscarried before Jaden. Some of you have heard that story before. And all the signs were pointing to everything was going well. The test said I was pregnant. My body was reacting, yes, you're pregnant, but, baby is happening. And we go in for the first sonogram, and we're well within the appropriate time to be able to see life. We go in for the first one. Maybe it's too early. Okay. We go in for the next one, the next week. Maybe it's a bad angle. Okay. Still take all the tests, say, yes, you're pregnant, it's happening. And the third test, by this time, we should see something. And there's nothing. Pat, at the time, was in California doing his intensive, and I text him, I say, it's not looking good. There's no baby. And the doctor even told me, prepare for the worst. I said, no, I've already been through this. There should be something there. Your hormone levels are not where they should be. Your blood levels, your nutrients, all the things that should be here, you're here. We need to prepare for the worst. So I told Pat to pray. That's all we can do. We got to pray. 2 days later, this would be the appointment that I would schedule a procedure to take care of what would be a deceased baby. And there she is up on the screen. In all her mighty Mia glory, and you all know Mia, she is incredible. I don't know how to explain it. All I know is that God showed up in an unexpected way. We were preparing for the worst. I was preparing to give up. I was preparing to throw in the towel. I was preparing to have a procedure that would cause my daughter to not be here today, because hopelessness was spoken over that situation. Has Jesus shown up in your life in an unexpected way? That you're like, what? How is that even possible? Oh, but God, take courage. He is here. Do not be afraid.
Amen, Tara. Good word.
Thank you. And Peter says in verse 28, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. And Jesus says, come. Here's what I love about Peter. All the disciples are like, it's a ghost. And Peter, he just has the audacity to just be like, all right, if that's you, that's really you, Jesus, tell me to come out to you on the water. And he's like, the water's not still, okay? We're in the middle of a storm, okay? And if that's you, come on. And he stepped out of the boat. What was that like? It's not like a stage where there's like a surface, it's water. It's water. And he begins to walk on water towards Jesus. Why? Because he heard the voice of the one who has loved him from eternity past and eternity forward. He knew the sound of Jesus' voice. Do you know the sound of the Lord your God? Do you know the sound of his voice in your life, in the hidden places, in the exhausted places, in the places where you want to give up and you've been rowing against the wind? And Jesus, I'm just trying to do what you've told me to do, and it's so hard, and I don't know how to get to the other side, and I want to give up. And he says, come on. Come on, I'm right here with you. Come on. Don't you ever give up. It's never hopeless with Jesus. And so Peter, here's another thing. Before I had kids and when I would go swimming, I would just cannonball into the water, like just, whoa! Now I'm kind of like, I don't want to get my hair wet. I don't know what that says about me. You can make your own judgment. But, Peter, he doesn't test the temperature of the water. It doesn't say that. He doesn't measure the wave. He's okay, that's a 6-footer. That looks like an 8-foot. I'm not going out that way. I'm going to wait for a little ankle biter wave before I step out to Jesus, right? He doesn't do that. The word says he stepped down out of the boat and he walked towards Jesus. There was no, let me wait for the perfect conditions to listen to the voice of Jesus and to obey. He just does it because he heard his voice. Is our faith beckoning us like that to obey in such a way where we're like, I trust you, Jesus. And I don't need to wait for the perfect conditions because I have the perfect one in front of me. You see, the big idea today, church, and I realize I didn't share that with you in your notes. Faith isn't preoccupied with perfection. It's obsessed with possibility. See, Peter was obsessed with the idea that if that's you, Jesus, and you're standing on the water right there, then it's probably possible for me to be able to do the same thing. Instead of the 11, what are the 11 doing in the boat? It's crashing. The wind is blowing. This is impossible. And Peter's like, nah, there's a better way. It's Jesus. How do we hear the voice of the Lord? I believe it's through our trusted friendships, the ones who are on the same, wanting to live in the same way as we are, wanting to live a life of faith and glorifying unto the Lord. Our friends, it's when we're in the Word. And not just reading the Word so we can just check it off of the devotions list, but it gets in us. And it changes us. And we hear him beckoning us to know him more and more and more. And it's like when I was dating my husband, and he's just so handsome and so funny. And I'm like, I just want to be around you all the time. I want to get to know you. That's right, I could say that stuff too. Makes him a little blushy. It's kind of cute. The voice of the Lord, it's being with him, spending time with him. In Matthew 14:30, you can put that picture up on the screen. It says, but when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. See, and in this moment, We're going to find out Jesus shows us what's possible in our weakness. He began to see the strength of the wind. And if you guys know anything about wind and water and ocean or lakes, it creates these huge waves. So here's Peter, and he's walking toward Jesus. Can you guys put that picture up on the screen, please, of that awesome wave that I found on the internet? It's right behind me. Awesome. I was looking up there. It's right there. It takes a village, people. Okay. So he's walking on the water, okay? And he's walking towards Jesus. Can you imagine if you see that? Can you see that? You see that right in front of you. What would you do? Oh, you're not like, oh, that's cute. I'm gonna die. You know, this is impossible. What am I doing? I'm walking on water. This isn't humanly possible. The wind is howling. The waves are crashing. This is crazy. And he begins to sink. And he cries out, Lord, save me. Here's what I love about this prayer. It's honest. It's the shortest recorded prayer in the Bible. It's honest and it gets straight to the point. Peter doesn't say, hey, Jesus, throw me a line so I can, swim back to the boat. Do you have a floaty? You have like one of those, kind of, so I can just paddle my way back. No. And I think he didn't do that because if he had cried out for a flotation device, for a thing, for something else so that he can get himself back to the boat, guess who gets to boast that they got themselves back into the boat? Peter. It's not about us. It's about Jesus. So he's got the one right in front of him who can save him. He says, Lord, save me. He also doesn't waste time praying this perfect prayer. Oh, holiest of gods, have mercy upon me. He's sinking. If he did that, he would be underwater. I asked my three, he's almost 3, Eli, I say, what does a fishy say? And he goes, blub, 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 blub. That's the sound Peter would be making if he wasted time trying to pray this perfect prayer right now. Lord, save me, save me, save me. Have you ever been there? Yeah. Have you ever been there? You step out in faith, okay? It gets really hard, it gets really difficult. People say things about you. The business fails. You lose a child. Tragedy strikes. Jesus, I'm just trying to do what you've asked me to do. It's getting really hard. I'm in the hidden place, Jesus. As a mom, there are so many hidden places. There are so many broken places that only you and Jesus know about. God, this is hard. Save me, help me. And what happens? Though Peter began to sink, he doesn't drown. He doesn't drown. So in this moment, Peter will experience something that the other 11 will never know. He begins to sink and he cries out, Lord, save me. And he is saved by the strength of Christ, catching him and pulling him out of the waters and walking him back to the boat. Let's try that again. He experiences the strength of Christ in his weakness, right? In our weakness, he is made strong. The other 11 are still in the boat. They didn't come out. And Peter is lifted out of the water. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible to know that even in our weakness, even in our frailty, even in our hiddenness, even when it gets really hard and we cry out to the Lord, save me, help me, that he catches you. And Peter got pretty close. He did. He got pretty close to Jesus because it says immediately Jesus caught him. So he's probably like from me to Emmy here. But I wonder, and I'm just inferring here, I wonder if he would have ever began to sink at all if he had James and John at his side. I wonder if he would have begun to sink if he had his buddies with him. Oh, guys, I'm ankle deep now. I'm starting to lose. No, eyes on Jesus. Eyes on Jesus, Peter. Come on, eyes on Jesus. Remember what he said. He loves you. You're a son of God. Come on, keep going. Let's go. I wonder what it would have been like if he began to sing, you guys, the wind is really loud, it's howling, I can't hear his voice. No. And James says, come on, Peter, he's right there, eyes on Jesus. Remember the sound of his voice. He said, he loves you. He's here with us. Remember, he said, take courage. He commanded us to take courage, remember? Come on, we got you. We got you. It's in those moments when I call Ayako and I say, I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time believing what the Lord has said to me. And she'll bring me back to Scripture. And she'll bring me back to what God has said about me. Come on. Come on. Eyes on Jesus. Eyes on Jesus. So what kept them in the boat? What kept them? Was it fear? Was it hopelessness? Was it the sheer size of the storm and the waves that it's just like, whoa? Because sometimes the storms that we go through are major. And some of you have been through some storms and have weathered some storms that I will never know, but the Lord knows, and he was with you every step of the way. And some of us are going to face storms where it's going to be so hard to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. But if we can all step out of our boats of whatever it is, of insecurity, comparison, offense, hurt, unforgiveness, jealousy, you name it, criticism, if we could all just step out of our boats together. Come on. He's right there. Come on, take courage. He's right there. Can you imagine what this place would look like if we step out together in faith? Amen? Amen. I caught my husband flexing in the mirror. I have permission to tell this story, by the way. All right, it got real serious there for a minute, huh? So we're going to come back up. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite story. So my husband goes through phases. He loves watching documentaries. And this particular phase, he was going through a fitness phase. And we're watching Pumping Iron. You guys know the movie. With Arnold Schwarzenegger. Have you seen it? I don't recommend it. It must have been so captivating to me because I had to go to the kitchen and do something else. And so this was years ago, before we had kids, and we're living in Washington, and we were living in a two-story home. Anyway, so I go to the kitchen and distract myself for a good 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, it's real quiet. I'm like, oh, what happened to the movie? It was so good. And I'm like, oh, what happened? I walk back into the living room, and the TV's off. Oh. Maybe he went to bed. It's only 8 o'clock. And then I hear this okay, it's not windy outside. Okay, and I'm like, what's going on? So okay, he's upstairs. And so I knew something was going on, and so I snuffed my way up the stairs, and he's in the bathroom, and I knew it, and I didn't tell him I was coming, and I snuck up, and the door was open, I don't know, maybe this much, and and he's in front of the mirror, shirtless. I'm gonna stand right here. He's doing this one. Yeah. No, but you gotta turn to the side, right? Because it's like this, and then you gotta get the, yeah. And I'm just okay. And he's like, and then wait. He switches. Right? And he's like, yo, get the guns, right? And my personal favorite, he turns. And he closes it. He's in it now. He's in the competition. He's all bronzed up. I love you, babe. He goes to this one. Look at that, right here. Just, oh. This one has a name, babe. What's this one called? What's it called? It's the Atlas. Because he's holding the weight of the world on his shoulders. You want to know how he got out of it? I must have started giggling because, it's so tough. He's like, and I started laughing. He's, oh, what? got a scratch, I got an itch on my back, you know. It's real hard to reach. I'm like, oh yeah? 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 Did you win?
Yes.
He did. He did. He won. It's such a, well, it's a funny picture. It's, you know, my husband, he is, I'm sure like many of you in the room, many men in this room who tend to carry the weight of the world on their shoulders and who want to operate out of place of strength rather than weakness. It's true, it happens. And he shared this earlier. That was a season when all signs were pointing to giving up. And it was hopeless. And we have weathered certain storms together. And while he feels the heaviness, and he's just looking at me sometimes like, babe, I don't think I can do this. I don't know what to do. And it's oftentimes that word of encouragement. Eyes on Jesus. He's right there with you, babe. You are a son of God, and speaking that life into him to pull him out of the waters of discouragement. Sisters in the room, sometimes our husbands are going to cause a storm, and it's their fault. And when that happens, I've got my little boat of resentment, of withholding, and entitlement. This is your storm, dude. You fix it. But oftentimes what has caused that storm is there's something deeper going on. And if we can just take a minute to just listen, Jesus, what's going on? To find that word of encouragement, to lift him out of the waters of discouragement, you release life. Husbands in the room, same. So you could be mad about the storm, but you got Jesus there, right in the middle, standing with you in it. Amen? I can't wait to tell that story at 10 a.m. again. That's going to be so fun. I'm going to share one more story, and then we're going to have a real beautiful element for you to enjoy and be encouraged with by our dance team. Speaking of operating out of a place of weakness, a very wise person said to me, God's love looks like a happy meal. And because it's Mother's Day, I get to share this with you. I had just gotten done preaching a message much like this. Jaden was 6, and he had a day in the ark. It was just one of those, he wasn't just tired and cranky. He had, and I asked him, he said, it's okay, I could share the story. He had done something that was out of character for him. And, behavior that we don't do that, dude. We don't speak that way. And I was embarrassed. Because in my own weakness, in my mind, just being a pastor's wife, I'm new to this position. I have this false idea of what I'm supposed to look like, sound like, act like, perfection. That I gotta have it together, or they're all gonna find out that I'm a fraud. No, I'm a human, and I struggle. And so Jaden had this hard time, and I took it personally. I took it as a reflection upon my parenting, and oh gosh, how dare you? He's 6. And we get in the car, and we have, if you've ever, maybe I'm the only one, we had that car ride home, church is, yay, church, Jesus, and then you wait until we get home. Happens to me too. But with this, I just railed into the kid. And he misbehaved. Okay, there's a better way to handle that. And I look back, and he's just crying. And right then, unexpectedly, I hear the voice of the Lord. He says, look at him, Tara. Look at him. And I was, okay, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this better. I'm so sorry. And I'm so sorry for hurting your heart, for hurting your feelings. And he says, it's okay, Mommy, but I'm not good. I'm not good, and so I don't deserve, and Jaden ends up coming, he's just like his dad. He's such a good communicator. And he goes, I don't deserve anything good because I was so bad. Mom of the year. I said, that's not true, Jaden. That's so not true. See, God's love, no matter what, he loves you no matter what, through all the mistakes, through all of our failures, through all the storms. He loves you, baby. Don't you know he loves you? Okay, so then I'm trying to bribe him, right, to like me now. So I drive to McDonald's, and he doesn't know that we're driving there. And we pull into the drive-thru, and he wipes his tears. He's like, what are we doing here, Mom? I said, I'm going to get you a Happy Meal. I said, yeah, Jaden. Because remember, what did we and I tried to do this perfect Bible lesson about God's grace and his love, right? And I'm like, because remember, what does God's love look like? And he goes, God's love looks like a Happy Meal. Yes, it does, babe. Yes, it does. It looks like a Happy Meal. And isn't that so good? That even in our weakness, in our hiddenness, that he is there with us and as mothers in this room. And here's what I want to encourage you with. Whatever your boat may be, step out of it. You may be weak, but he is strong right there in the middle of the storm, and he beckons you to come. And we need mothers and aunties and grandmothers and sisters stepping out of our boats of whatever's holding you back. I named all of mine earlier. It's like 8 of them, and you step out of your boat to Jesus, so that way the ones who are coming up behind us can see what faith looks like. It's real, it's raw, it's honest, it's not perfect, it's obsessed with possibility, miracle upon miracle upon miracle. They need us stepping out of our boats to Jesus so that they can do the same and even greater